Hey, piece of clays, it's Broden here. Today we are talking to writer, director, and the greatest actor of all time, if you ask me, Mr. Dean Alioto. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing well.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about anything but UFOs and aliens and my two movies and how I became the person who has been debunking his own films. That we're not going to talk about in great detail. We will not be doing that. So don't tune in because that will not be happening.
Yeah, if that's what you're after.
However long. Yeah.
If that's what you come here for, you're in the wrong place.
Hit another podcast. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just don't.
All right, guys, enjoy episode 27, Belter.
Dean Alioto, how are you?
I'm good. It's 5 p.m. my time. I think in like 10 your time. 10 a.m.
Yeah, 10 o'clock. We've overcome that time boundary. I thought this was supposed to happen yesterday, but thanks for setting me straight on that.
It's because you're a day in the future.
That's right.
I'm Australian. I'm a day in the future.
Slightly better than you guys. Yeah, no, fantastic, man, and thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you to be here. Now, Dean, for our viewers may not know, is one of the most convincing actors of all time. In his very first feature film, UFO Abduction, where people actually thought that it was real. How did that come about, Dean? Tell us about that.
I tapped into the phenomenon that is the same one that was used to get Trump elected. It's this incredible illusion that's all smoke and mirrors. What happened was basically, I was 24 years old. And as a filmmaker, aspiring filmmaker, 24 is that pivotal moment where it's like, you've got a year to make your first feature if you haven't already, because all of your idols have. And so Scorsese, Spielberg, Coppola, all these guys have made their first film by 25, Orson Welles, etc. So I thought, okay, well, I have to do this. And so how much do I have? And I had a buddy of mine whose father had passed away. And so he left him a huge dowry. And so he was willing to pay for his producing credit, $6,500. So I'm like, dude, $6,500? This is 88. So there's only 16 millimeter. 88? Nice. So there's only so much you can do with that because there's only 16 millimeter. And, there's no DSLRs and everything like that we have today. So $6,500 today is like, I can do a trilogy. So I thought the only thing I can do with that is like a home video. And so I'm scratching my head going, how do I make this work? And then I got a copy of Whitley Strieber's book, Communion. And
I might have one of those too.
It looks just like that. It's written by the same author. I don't know if it's the same one, but it's identical.
He's a handsome-looking gentleman too. This guy.
He is.
Can you trust this guy? Look at this guy. He looks like he wants to sell me insurance.
I'm supposed to be interviewing him next week. So
really? Well, can you tell him hello from me and tell him also thanks for fucking my childhood?
I will. It makes two of us.
Yeah.
I actually owe everything to the guy because I read the book, and up until that point, the scariest thing I had ever experienced was the book called, as far as literature, was the Stephen King book, Pet Sematary. That was terrifying for me. And I read this, and I was just obliterated. It was like, this is insane. And it was this kind of love-fear thing where I felt like a total fight or flight, where I felt like, I need to know more. I want to experience this, but not with the anal probe. So how do I do that? And so I thought, well, maybe if I do it like this first person type thing where it starts out being this, home video, and then it becomes this other thing. And then I follow to the letter of the law, how people get abducted and ascribe that onto this, and basically do War of the Worlds on videotape. And so I hired improvisational actors. This is up in the Bay Area, San Francisco, where I'm from. And then had an outline, and we improvised everything. We had certain beats that we had to hit. And I'm the camera kid, the kid shooting this. I'm 24 playing 16. And I've got a headset on, so I'm cueing the two ADs saying, okay, get the ship ready, get the aliens ready, hit the fire in the sky, get the light going. And so I'm doing that as I'm pulling away from the cameras, I'm recording all this. So we shot it all in one night, one take.
Wow.
And again, this is 10 years before Blair Witch. And I had no idea what I was doing. There was only one friend of mine who said, this is insane what you've done. This is like completely, creatively new frontier, blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying, dude, you're high. Keep smoking. No, this is a gimmick. This is just to get me to that threshold of being a filmmaker. So we go out to try to sell this thing, and we do the pilgrimage, the road trip from San Francisco to LA. And it's can I say fuck?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
Okay. So
can I say fuck?
So actually, I know how to say fuck in Australian.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Because this is embarrassing, little side detour. Last year, I took a French immersion class in France. It's supposed to be the best. And I'm in the worst class of the worst. My girlfriend is like the top. I'm in this thing called débutant, and I'm in one, not even two. And this guy who became my mate was from Queensland, Australia. And 2 to 3 times a day, he would just right in the middle of class say this. Fuck. So I learned how to say fuck properly.
That's what we do. Yeah, fuck.
Fuck. Yeah,
It's
fuck
like
this.
Queensland more so. They've got even more of it. Like if you've got the Australian accent, you definitely have the Australian accent in Queensland too. It's like, fuck.
They finish sentences with a, like where it doesn't belong. Do you know what I mean? But like when you say fuck, it's kind of like a crow wanting like another piece of food. Back.
Couldn't be more lazy about speaking.
It took me a week to get down the correct pronunciation. Forget about pronouncing French properly. I want to know how to say fuck. Fuck. So we go out to sell this thing, and everyone looks at it like what it is up until that point, which is this weird, completely amateur home video, to the point that one woman says to me, this executive for this big company, distribution company, says to me, I think you need to get out of here and not come back until you have a real movie.
Ooh.
So that was the second to last meeting that we had. And we left with our tails between our legs, driving back and going, shit, well, whatever. I guess I can say I made my film even though no one's going to see this thing. So we get home, and then I get a call from this guy who has this distribution company. And he says, hey, so we're going to do this or what? And I said, are you serious? He goes, yeah, let's do it. Let's make some business. Let's get this thing out there. So go ahead and releases it. And, we're excited. We're not going to make a killing off of it, but we got the first film and it got distribution. That's a win-win. Even today, having that's like a big score. So I check in a few months later and I say, hey, how many units did we sell? How many VHS? And he says, oh, I got some bad news for you. He says, it's all gone. It's burnt down. And I'm like, oh shit. So no one's bought it. It's burnt down. It's like, burnt. It's toast. And he says, no. It's literally burnt, like as in gone up in flames. Our warehouse burned to the ground.
Fuck.
So all the inventory, right? That's 2 facts. And so it burns down, and he says, so that's the warehouse. All of our titles did. And, sorry, that's it. So I continue about my life and going, whatever, universe, first time, move on. And then I get a call from this guy who says, hey, do you know who found this footage of this family being abducted? And I said, what do you mean found? Well, it's this family, they got abducted, and describes it to me. And I said, well, no one found it. We made it. That's my film. And he says, oh, well, do you know what's happened to it? And I said, dude, who the fuck are you? And he says, okay, I just came back from the International UFO Congress Convention in Phoenix, of course, Arizona. And he said, they showed your film, and it's believed to be real. And when I was done laughing, I said, okay, that's awesome. That's hysterical. Okay. And he says, so Unsolved Mysteries, hard copy in a show called Encounters, they all want to show your film. And I laugh again. And I said, okay, well, Unsolved Mysteries is out. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, it is called Unsolved Mysteries, right? Not Solved Mysteries. He says, not necessarily. And I'm like, no, enough, fooling people. It was intentional to begin with. So, I want to go on, one of these shows and debunk my own film, which I think I'm the first and only filmmaker who's ever debunked his own film. I said, let's take it off the plate of people who are seriously, trying to get to the bottom of the UFO enigma. And so anyway, I go on, I do this thing, and we're trying to figure out what happened. And we discovered that someone much more clever than I am edited off the credits and passed it around the UFO community. And what he did is, there were a few mom and pop video stores back in the day. There was, all those mom and pop video stores. And so they got advanced screeners, which I never got a percentage of, but doesn't matter. So it got injected to the UFO community. I still don't know who the patient zero is on this, right? But it does well. And so I go on that show and that's it. And then about 10 years later, I'm working on this Stephen J. Cannell crime series. And the head writer says, dude, I heard about this movie that you made. I want to see it. And I'm trying to do Spielberg. I'm trying to do Michael Mann and Scorsese stuff. And I'm like, no, dude, it's all handheld. It's video. Again, this is before Blair Witch. So this is still considered a handheld piece of shit. And that's not entirely inaccurate. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, here, I'll take a look at it. And he goes, okay, he watches it and he calls me and says, I can get us a TV movie deal with this. And I said, yeah, Paul, okay, you do that. I'll direct it and we'll produce it together. I'm going to go out to dinner now. See you later. Calls me back a couple hours later. We have a meeting at Dick Clark Productions next week. So we go into Dick Clark Productions. We don't say shit. We walk in. We put in the VHS tape of the Encounters Fox show that they did on the film, on the original. And after, he laughs his ass off, shakes our hands, and says, you have a deal. That's never happened, ever. Since then, it just doesn't usually work that way. So flash forward, we're going to make it we meet with UPN, United Paramount Network, which is now CW. They're interested in doing it, but they haven't set up the network yet. So Showtime says, we'll throw down on this. We're like, great, Showtime, holy shit, hit the jackpot. So then we discover the worst two words in the film business, which is business affairs. So it sits there for 6 months. Nothing's going on. And then we get a call from UPN saying, hey, whatever happened to that fucking crazy project? We said, nothing. We're stuck in business affairs hell. And then they said, well, if you can get into turnaround, we'll make it. It'll be our first TV movie. So that's what we did. Now my budget's $1.25 million. We're going to shoot up in Canada, Vancouver to be exact. And I have an anxiety attack, my first, because the original was $6,500. I don't know how to spend 1.25, which the currency, the US dollar, was so strong that it was actually 1.7 million. So yeah, I kid you not. I'm like, I got to talk to a therapist. I'm just, why is this? How do I do this? And I'm freaking out. And so ultimately, we go up and we make it. We come in $500,000 under budget. We shoot in a week this time. I'm like, shit. How can we spend money, man? Let's get the guys from the X-Files. We'll have them do the ship and the aliens. So we hired them. So they came and did that, and it's like, shit, that's only going to be $50,000. God damn. Anyway, so we did this thing, and if I'm going into too much detail, stop me anytime.
No, we love it.
Good.
Okay. All right. So we make this thing, and while we're filming it, everyone at UPN gets fired.
All right.
But we're still going to finish our film. And we're like, oh, that was close. Thank God we got greenlit before this all went down. So we come back, and they give us 2 weeks to turn in a final cut.
Oh. We
turn it in, and the new head of the company, UPN network, is like, thank God we're here to save the network. This is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen.
Oh, fuck.
In fact, the head of TV movies, who didn't get fired, he said it was the worst screen of his life. He says they were literally, Dean, throwing food at the screen.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So the next thing that happens is Paul Chitlick, my partner, and he and I both get fired. So we're shit can. And then this woman comes in who does a couple more interviews, because we had interstitial interviews and the remake. And and she decides that she wants full credit. And she wants to say Canadian crew and then put us in it. Well, we're not even Canadian. You know, we're American. So I'm in the Directors Guild. They go after them, and this woman gets, you know, clapped down. It's, you know, fine, dealt with. Anyway, the show airs. They decided to cut it from 2 hours to an hour. Yeah. They air it. This airs a year before Blair Witch comes out, and it gets the highest ratings for a Tuesday night prime time. So they put in more footage, and it gets even better ratings. And then the head of the network, I'm not going to say his name, but his first name is my name, and his last name is Valentine. But I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to. I don't kiss and tell. So I don't do that. So
it's like a picture of him on your mug.
Yeah.
This is my favorite mug. It's in
John
reverse,
Oates.
but it's.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I thought it was John Oates.
It
That's
looks
Lionel
like
Richie.
It does look like Oates.
Lionel Richie.
Dude, it totally looks like John Oates.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell people it's John Oates. Yeah.
It does.
I couldn't afford the what's the other guy? The Daryl
Lionel
Hall.
Richie.
I couldn't afford the Daryl Hall cup, so I got the
Hey,
John
but
Oates.
think of it this way: Daryl Hall's never had a hit without John Oates. John Oates wrote Electric Blue on his own. You know.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know
well,
that.
with the Ice House Australian band, but
Oh
yeah,
shit.
Daryl
Okay.
Hall didn't do much on his own. But anyway.
No,
Sorry,
not at all. Total hack.
We're talking about Valentine's Day, I believe.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
And our bloody Valentine's Day massacre, I like to say. So we end up being told that, no, your credits are going to be fine. And the head of the network says that I'll never be on this network again. That's it. It gets buried. Well, the foreign version is the 2-hour version, the 90-minute version. That's been playing nonstop since then, since '98. And so when the interwebs hits and goes in, it starts to, that's where this weird second wave of this cult hits. And then when Blair Witch comes out a year later, it becomes totally acceptable. And then one last thing about Mr. Valentine is that he said, oh shit, I guess those guys were onto it, which was great. He didn't say it to me, of course, but
yeah. But he came around. Yeah.
But he did come around. Yeah. So, so that was kind of how those two projects came about. The first one, occasionally I was getting phone calls from people saying, hey, I'm a ufologist, which I don't know what the hell that was. I thought that was like a proctologist or something. And they're like, we're in Brazil, we're in Japan, we want a copy of the stain. And I tell them it's not real. And they go, I don't care, I want it. That was as weird as that got. And then when the internet hit, it got a whole other level of weirdness where people claim that I was full of shit, which is partially true, and that I work for the government and I'm part of some disinformation act, which was just
they were trying
delicious.
to say that. They were trying to say that you had been hired to cover up your own video by making a new video to discredit your original video that you were in.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fucking amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Well, my two favorite emails are, the first one is, this guy says, if this is a fake, how do you explain how my mother knows the aunt of one of the McPherson Tape kids? And I said, I honestly can't explain how your mother knows the aunt of one of my fictional characters. I don't.
Yeah, impossible.
Impossible. And then the other one was this guy who said, please send me a copy of Alien Abduction in Lake County, which we should say is the name of the second one. The first one was called UFO Abduction, but it's now been rebranded as the McPherson Tape.
Even though it's the Van Hees family?
The Van Hees family. Yeah, what happened was the original title of the remake of Alien Abduction, Incident Lake County, was the McPherson Tape.
Mm.
And then UPN, in all their wisdom, was like, I don't think people are going to know that this is Alien, so let's put Alien Abduction in the title.
And that was a hot topic at the time too, so.
Yeah, and let's put music in it. That really helps sell a home video. As a music score, sure. So anyway, no bitterness here. So this guy, he sends me his email and he says, hey, can you send me a copy of the remake? I really need to have it. The thing is, my girlfriend gets really horny when she watches scary films. And this movie scared the shit out of me. I still have to sleep with the nightlight on. And I want to scare her so I can get laid. And he says, I need you to understand how super, super, super important this is to me. And then at the end, I swear to God, he says, P.S. I just need you to know how super important this is to me.
So you send in the movie and an alien mask.
Yeah, put this on. She'll love it. Alien probe optional.
Oh, crikey. That's a very Australian thing of me to say, isn't it? Crikey.
Oh, crikey, yes.
So they were called the Van Hees family, and then obviously they were changed to the McPherson,
yeah, it kind of was conflated into that. And then the last kind of capper to this story is that about a year and a half ago, I got a call from, I don't know if you've heard of Alamo Drafthouse, but Alamo Drafthouse in the United States, it's where, it started out in Texas. It's where Tarantino, it's where Robert Rodriguez, they all have their premieres with Alamo Drafthouse. It's this independent film theater that actually is the first to do serving food. They were the ones that brought that back or created that. And they've got their own indie line that's called AGFA, which stands for American Genre Film Archive. And they find all these gems. And they tracked me down and said, look, we need your film here because it's the first found footage film. And BuzzFeed had done an article and a couple other things outing me as the guy who did the first found footage film, which was great. It's funny, I talked directing one time, and I had these two students arguing over whose was the first. Was it mine, or was it Cannibal Holocaust?
Yeah, right.
And I won just by technicality, which was Cannibal Holocaust is a film about these filmmakers who are, presumably making this documentary. So that now we're into this is Spinal Tap. And the footage that they have is this footage that they're trying to investigate. Found footage has to be found footage from beginning to end. It's uncut. Here it is. So I think I won. That gets me nothing. But anyway,
that would be like watching us find your footage. Which is not it. So what you want to know is who shot the footage of the cannibal. What was it called again? Cannibal Holocaust?
Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust. Who shot that footage? You want to see their original video in full. That would be a fan footage.
In fact,
film.
they should go back and grab that and release it. But anyway.
Totally. That would be great.
Oh, totally. So, anyway, they decided to do a theatrical release, and they did a special 30th anniversary screening at Fantastic Fest, which is also kind of affiliated with Alamo Drafthouse, and that's like the biggest genre festival. They did the reboot of Halloween, and then they did Jojo Rabbit. I mean, international, really, really fun, crazy stuff. Anyway, it was supposed to come out 2 weeks before it was going to get its theatrical release, which is insane 30 years later. COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so it got canceled and everything. But hey, I mean, just the fact that they did a re-release Blu-ray and they did a really nice version of it. I remixed it, or remastered rather, and then I did a commentary, and then they filmed this whole behind-the-scenes stuff that we had, and so, and then sold it as the McPherson tape. I think you can get it on Amazon. Yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of that journey of how I got into UFOs and aliens, and then I should say, parallel to this, also within the past years, I get a call from the guy and his girlfriend who run International UFO Congress Convention. Alejandro Rojas and his girlfriend Karen, and my God, I forgot her last name, but they said, hey, for the 25th anniversary, we want to have you come and present the film, the original film, because it's the film that convinced all of our community that this was real. We want you to come. And I said, yeah, not going to happen. I think some of the people, maybe a little zealot, that's putting it nicely.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to get lynched and everything. And he said, no, dude, they're fun. They're cool. They'll love the story. And I said, okay, I'll do that. But I don't take myself serious. My work, yes, but not myself. So he said, no, it's going to be fine. So he says to me, you'll come and we'll do 75 minutes. I'm like, cool, sit down, we'll talk. And he goes, no, it's not sitting down. It's you talking. And I go, what do you mean? People asking questions, Q&A? And he says, no. You have to do a presentation.
A TED talk, basically.
Yes, he says, go watch one of our things. So 3 days before I'm supposed to go and speak to 1,000, these guys, I see, and it's total TED Talk, and so I've got to pull together slides and all this shit and everything. But the audience was terrific. They were great. I've embraced the community. They've seemed to embrace me. And so because of that, that led to me, as I've always been interested in UFOs and aliens. And that kind of was a refresher, like completely thrown into the deep end of the pool. I got a chance to hang out with all my idols, including Stan Friedman and Travis Walton from Fire in the Sky, and do these podcasts and stuff. And so with the found footage and with the alien stuff, it's been this kind of weird, fun, mashup. And then about a year and a half ago, I started doing my own documentary on this, which has since become a 3-part limited series. And so that's what I'm working on now. I'm finishing post-production on that.
That's fantastic. I'd be very interested to see that. Now, I had a couple of quick questions about the original and the remake. I've noticed a bit of a theme in a couple of names. Obviously, the Van Hees, their name was changed, but in the remake, I find perhaps you could maybe confirm. This is getting into the minutiae here. The Bergenhauser's pasture.
Oh,
so
wait, we're talking about
we're talking about the remake in the second
remake.
one, right? So the Van Hees, that's a very kind of European-sounding name. Bergenhauser's pasture, is that any kind of like throwback? This is a hard stretch. Any kind of throwback to that kind of, people who make cheese and wear funny little hats with buckles on them and stuff like that? Is that just a
yes,
a
100%? It was not that. It was just some coincidence, dude.
No,
Sorry.
but
Burst the bubble.
so,
Yeah.
but you filmed this thing in one night. The original, you filmed it in a single night.
Yeah.
And the second one took 5 nights to make.
5 nights.
So,
yeah.
so what my main question about that was, where did the cast go when they weren't on screen? Like, some of them disappeared systematically, right? Where did they hide? And especially in the remake, where were you?
Okay, that's a good question. The difference between the first and the second one was, the difference between being a photojournalist, we were out there in the mix, and directing a sports event. So how the second one worked is I didn't shoot the second one. I had a cameraman that we hired, a professional camera, great guy, who wore the same clothes that the 16-year-old kid who was portraying him, not 16, he was like 22 or something.
This is the Tommy character.
Yeah. And so they're wearing the identical stuff, and he's holding onto the belt of the cameraman. So whenever he needs to set the camera down and like come out front and everything, he's right behind him. In fact, one little tidbit was when we went to shoot the film, we had it timed. Dick Clark had it timed, which means they act it out. They have it all act out, and they see, here's how much screen time approximately we're going to get from the script. And because it's dialogue, people are talking over each other, it's not different cuts, it's all one stream. The 90-minute film came out to 45 minutes.
All right.
So Paul and I had to, with 4 days before we were shooting, go ahead and create a whole other length of the script, another 45 pages. And one of those scenes that I wrote was the confessional scene, where he sets a camera down, he goes in the bathroom.
Yeah. And
he, says how terrified he is. And it was actually the first time that actor had ever cried on camera, which was pretty cool. He was all excited. He did a great job. He did a great job, yeah. Sure. So the way that this is playing out, the way that I'm directing this is, cameraman's out there. I'm in one of the rooms that you never see. I have a monitor and a headset. So I'm communicating to the camera guy. I'm saying pan right, pan left. And then with my other headset, all part on the same channel, I'm communicating to cue this, cue that. The AD, my AD, Gareth was, he was, cueing, okay, we're coming up to this or that. So it's much like a sporting event, In fact, we had to tell actors, don't look at the camera, we'll find you. Turn your back to us. And then we also want you to swear. There was one guy who we wanted to play Aaron Pearl's role, who was Eric, I forgot, we had a different name for him, I think, in the remake. But anyway, the older brother, the racist older brother.
Yeah.
And so we had him, we had this other actor we were cast, but he could not say fuck or shit for the life of him on camera because he was so trained in Vancouver not to swear.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, friggin', oh, shoot. And I'm like, dude, say to me right now, fuck. Yeah, say to me, fuck. I need you to give a fuck.
Fuck.
So he goes, fuck. And then I get the camera on. He's like, friggin'. It's like, I'm do it. So anyway,
Yeah.
so long story short, yeah. So that was kind of, you know, how that all kind of played out. We were talking about something leading to something, and it went nowhere.
Well,
Yeah,
you were
so it's like a sporting event.
Yeah. So we had to have them. We were doing long takes, so everyone had to have it memorized. So we gave the new script. One of the cast members who played Aaron's wife, she had tickets to the World Series, and she wasn't able to go because she had to memorize this whole new script.
Yeah.
So God bless her. So it was great. So anyway, so we did that, and it all, you know, kind of worked out. But I literally was just kind of like a live action sporting event. Told them to do this and that. So we broke it down to 20-minute chunks. So every night during that week, we did 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, etc.
So you've got some of the most chilling shit that I had ever seen. I think when I originally contacted you 2 years ago, it would have been around August, I think. And it was really funny because it took you until December to see it. But thank you for writing back in the first place. I appreciate that.
Super famous, super busy. Sorry.
So just for the listeners and viewers, I contacted Dean after seeing this. It popped up on a channel in Australia, SBS Viceland, I believe it was. And the first time that I saw the film, and I hear you mention this in a few other podcasts you've been on, how, like, you know, kids message you that had seen it, and you're like, what the fuck were your parents doing, man?
Yeah.
So the way I came across the film was we were watching, I came home sick. I was very sick. I was in like grade 5. I would have been like 10. And I'm at home and I'm flicking channels just with the vomit bowl, some flat lemonade going, I just don't know. What's this?
Horror porn. Horror porn.
Exactly.
and I see this thing on the menu that says it says UFO abduction. I'm like, fuck, I love that shit. Let's check it out. And I'm watching it in the broad daylight, like as I am now, shitting myself, sweating as it was, sick. Probably literally shitting myself too. And I watched this whole fucking movie, and then afterwards I feel like it might have been a fever dream because I can't find out anything about it. It's 1998, 1999, and I can't find anything about it for 10 years. I can't find anything about it. No internet. I asked people at school about it. Everyone I talked to about it thought I was a fucking nut job. You know, I start having these hardcore dreams about aliens, doing all this kind of crazy shit. And then this fucking movie pops up and it's different to what I remember. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Whoa, what's going on here? It was a different cut and it finished differently. And it had an alternate ending, I believe. There's a different ending between Tommy's monologue and then when they come through the doors. Is that correct? Or...
Okay, so wait, are you telling me the original or the remake?
I'm talking about the remake.
The remake.
The remake has 2 versions. Yeah, there's the 1-hour version. Not that great. Then there's the longer version.
The longer version is the one that came on, yeah.
The 90 minutes.
Okay, so you saw the longer version. Yeah, we actually see them come into the kitchen and everything.
That's it. And there's also, when I went to find the movie after I'd seen it that time 2 years ago, the only thing I could find on it was on YouTube, and it was somebody has jacked your original and put it up on YouTube. So I watched it on there. Do you get shitty about that? Do people have to, like, can they do that? How do they do that?
They do that at their own peril.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't put up with that shit.
Yeah. How do you get it removed?
Oh, YouTube is great. You just email them and you say, hey, this guy's ripped me off and he's trying to, you know, get hits. And there was one that I kept on because it was just a small, like, little clip of it. And there was actually going to be a 3rd remake version. Yeah. With Paramount Studios.
Yeah, right.
And so I kept it there because it had like 3 million hits. And I think that one is still up there. But when people go to you know, to take what you have, it's like, you know, I see you got a drum kit back there, which is awesome. I'm a drummer. Well, on my best day, I scratch the bottom of just okay. But if you did music, you do a band. I mean, you know, you have your band, you do an album and everything, and that comes out, CD, whatever, and it's, you know, ripped off. It's like, hey, fuck you. This is, you know, what we do for a living. It screws not only me, but it screws the cast and everyone else. So it's easy. I mean, YouTube just says, here you go. And I got the certificate of, from Library of Congress of ownership. So it's just, here's my document. That's it, done. But I have to do it on the regular.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
It's
Yeah,
like
well,
the digital age now. It's sort of, that's the only negative thing about it really, is the fact that people can just so easily rip it off and produce your content or whatever you're making on their own. You know, it's like they can independently do it and just steal what you're doing and get some followers or likes off it and stuff like that. When back in the day, you had to go and buy it from the shop. It'd be so cool if that was still the case.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of boned the music industry. But at the same time, anytime there's a change up like that, other things happen. As an example, the technology that did that was also some of the technology that ended up, that wave of technology, ended up making it possible for people to master their own albums and for it to sound pretty decent in their garage, where the garage bands happen. So what happened was the distributors and the label owners who controlled everything, they started to get proliferated with this. And so these indie labels came out. My daughter works at this really cool indie label called Terrible Records. And they're an example of these like full-on, people that are able to usurp normal channels. And in a way, they get more money for their clients because of that. Mm-hmm. But the only negative thing there, sorry, totally going off on a music tangent, is that labels are now asking for proceeds from selling swag and stuff, which it used to go all just to the artist.
That was how you made your money as a band, because like at this point, like I've got my own little band shirts made for myself for my own thing, but like the only way you can make money now is if you get a distribution deal with somebody who, for example, like I can go on and put my stuff on DistroKid, which pumps it everywhere, or you can get someone who will go, hey, I'll pay to get 1,000 vinyls made. When we make this much money back, which was our investment, you can make the additional money from the rest of that. That's the only way to do it. At this point in time, you're a fucking numbskull if you sign $1 million deal with a label, unless you can prove that you can pump an album out every year and a half.
Yeah.
It's I worked in music for a long time as a sound engineer, and I thought I'd have the books on the background because I wanted to make it look like I'm actually smarter than I am. But normally I'd be in the other room with all the synthesizers. But Cody hates the curtains in there, so I had to keep moving.
Their curtains are horrible, man.
That's why I've got Lennon back here, so that you think, is that a real picture, or is that something he got off of Amazon?
Open up that cupboard behind you, it's all just dog chains and probes.
Don't open it.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
So you've made quite a few films since then, Dean, as well. But hang on, sorry, I got more questions. I've been waiting 10 years for this. All right, so that fucking red orb that comes through the window, brilliant. So lens flare in camera effect, or your X-Files guys got onto it later?
Now, depending on which version you saw. The one that's the hour version is the shite version. That one kind of looks like a lens flare, and at one point it repeats. It's just awful. The 2-hour version has the best one.
That's the one.
That was done. Yeah, that was my first experience doing CGI where they had to track it. Ooh. And so it was literally just no lens flare. They brought it in and had it moving all around and everything. And we had, again, 2 weeks to deliver that.
Wow.
Because, Stick Clark, they were under a lot of pressure.
What about that pixelation mosaic thing that was happening every time like weird shit happened? That was just that was ahead of its time. People weren't doing that back then. Yeah,
that was. I thought I need to have something that is an indicator, like the theme from Jaws. So every time that would come up, the audience would know, oh shit. And then if it didn't come up, subconsciously they'd be like, could be, I'm not sure. But then when that hit, it was like, oh shit. Now we know that there's going to be delivery here.
Yeah.
I've also noticed
now you're on edge waiting for the scary shit to happen now because the camera's, the lens is playing up.
You can put on notice.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Just like yours.
I noticed in the 90-minute version that there's a part where what's the little girl's name? Rosie. Fuck, Rosie's the creepiest part of the whole thing. I just gotta
it's horrible.
The whole thing. She takes the shotgun shells out and she's like, yes. But that bit where she's playing piano and she starts to play something really, really, intricate and stuff like that. I found a version of that where that's not in the cut. The music's gone.
That's because it's the hour version.
Yeah,
it's version, right?
But yeah, she's not even playing the piano at all.
Isn't it? It's such a killer moment because it's one of those things that are innocuous. It's off. You don't really, and then all of a sudden you catch what's going, and it's happening off camera.
Yeah.
which is a million times better, as you know, which is like, I would say the camera guy, because he kept trying to catch the action. I said, no, you're not going to catch it. You're going to get their moment. We're going to hear it off camera. So the audience gets to fill in the production design of what that looks like.
Yes.
And then we're there.
Yeah, cool.
It's fucking off the chain. It's influenced a lot of stuff, obviously. You know, Blair Witch, Cloverfield, anything that anybody's ever picked up a camera and shaken around. But you did that with what was it? Super 16? No, what was it? 16 mil? Was it Super 16? Super 8? Super 16?
The first one, it was shot in 8mm video. It was the first like 8mm video, and I had to rent the camera because I couldn't afford the 8mm stereo. We're like, oh, wow. This is stereo, which is such a joke. All you do is take one channel that you had before the mono and you just double it. And you
pan it.
We were like, this is stereo.
But so you touched on this right at the start there, but like you did that with $6,500, and obviously the leap in technology has taken you to a point now where, like you say, you could build a trilogy for $6,500 with an iPhone or a DSLR. What do you think the future of that kind of stuff is? Do you think there'll be any more really innovative stuff coming out of, you know, young guys like, you know, ourselves with a DSLR?
No, I think that that moment in time came and went.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are going to make, but no way will it be ever at the level that we were. I mean, you're comparing yourself to gods. That's not fair. That's not fair. For both of us, really. I love what Soderbergh is doing, Steven Soderbergh, which is using whatever medium he has.
Yeah.
The thing that's going to win out at the end of the day, I don't care what you shoot this on, is going to be story.
Yeah.
And as example, when I was a filmmaker originally, I remember submitting my first feature to Sundance. And I remember they were getting 400 submissions. We thought, oh my God, that's a lot. And now they get like 8,000 submissions. Yeah. And so you look at that and you go, holy shit, that's a lot of competition. But ironically, there are still the same amount of good films being made every year.
Oh yeah, you just don't get to see them.
You just don't get to see them. And it's because people, they go out and they go, I can shoot a movie with this. It's like, in my day, we were weirdos. Filmmakers were whacked. It was like, oh, yeah. What? Don't you want to be in a band? That's cool. What's filmmaking? And so that pivoted when Tarantino came out and said, look, I'm here to making movies cool. And then that's when all of a sudden this huge thing happened. And then slightly, I'm going to say a few years after that, you know, we've got the technology that caught up and democratized, you know, as we know, filmmaking, where everyone can do it. But you still have to learn your craft, man. You got to learn how to light. You got to learn how to get correct audio. And more importantly, you have to learn how to tell a story that you give a shit about. Not just do it because you like that genre or you like, you know.
You see a lot of this shit at the moment where, you know, it's a Facebook ad every 5 minutes where it's like, you know, instant effects, drag and drop to color grade your whole video. And it's like, I want to get that. I want to achieve that organically. Like, you know, the film thing that flickers across the thing. I'd much rather sit a projector on that wall there and film that and use it as a plate over top of something than sit there and drag some automatic shit over. It's ridiculous. It's trying to make things easier for people. It's like, well, it frees up your time to be creative. And I'm like, that by nature is the lack of creativity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Setting up the scenes and lighting is just like so important. Like, it's just the creativity's in that, isn't it? In setting that.
We shot something last night with one light, and that's the thing is the lights now, instead of being a gigantic thing, it's an LED panel, the thickness of your telephone. It's tiny. You can carry it around with batteries. We shot this thing last night with one single light, and the images we got were great. So
it's
like this.
Yeah. Man, mine's rocking up on that little bad boy there.
Nice.
And then there's the opposite end of that spectrum, and there's a giant.
I got the other one. I don't want to pivot over. I'll knock it over, but I got reflecting off here.
I love it that we take it seriously enough.
In my sweatpants, sweatshirts.
Oh, nice.
I haven't got any on. No. I love it that we take this Zoom call seriously enough that we've all got 2 lights each.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm bouncing off the wall. It's sitting in here.
Same. I got one off the wall, one off the roof.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
No, that's great. But sorry, Cody, go.
Do you ever find that when it comes to directing, obviously, and I've had this, when you have a clear vision in your mind, do you find it hard to convey that to the people you're working with the actors and stuff like that? Does it ever get frustrating, or do you have a method in which you can really get your vision across?
I will not make a joke about that because you seem very sincere.
Go for it.
I won't talk about drugs. I won't talk about other things you do to get, no. That is the challenge of all creative endeavors, is to communicate. I don't think of myself, really, the older I've gotten, I don't think of myself as a filmmaker. I think of myself as a communicator. And so the better you are, the more you're able to clearly convey that. And so the two things you have to do is, one is have your shit together. So you talk to your crew and you talk to your cast. You can give them examples. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're doing. Not to rip that off, though I do believe in ripping off, because everyone does. In regard, like my style, when you first start out, you're ripping off all your favorite filmmakers, right? And then at some point, you start to kind of get your own.
It becomes a part of your style.
Yeah, Greg Toland isn't shooting Citizen Kane the way that he's shooting it, because he just miraculously came up with that. Orson Welles watched Stagecoach 100 times, screened it 100 times, and stole from little bits and pieces. It brings your game up. But at some point, you find, okay, you don't want to be derivative, so it's that fine line between knowing your craft, knowing who came before you, and knowing how to handle certain things. And there's certain things like little technical stuff. As an example, if someone runs by camera, filmmakers who are in the know that as they run by camera, they slow down. Because if they keep it at the same speed, because it's 24 frames, you'll disappear. So there's little certain things like that, moments where people talking, where it's like film speed, where people naturally talk a little bit quicker. So there's little tricks of the trade, and those you definitely have to take, because that's just the baseline of keeping things moving and professional. But somewhere between you spazzing out and doing your own thing, and then, being influenced by other filmmakers, which you can't help, that's going to happen. It's contagious. Every film that you've seen, you file away an index. But someone like David Fincher, I got a chance to see him work on the set of Panic Room. He aesthetically sees every little detail, and he's controlling every little bit of it. And so if you want to be a filmmaker and you just come out and you go, I'm going to set the camera up here and great, you can do that. You can just run through it. Yeah. But what's fun is the more you're doing it, the more you realize, oh my God, I can manipulate this. I can draw attention to this. And like you're talking about with apps, bringing it back to what you were saying, you have all these apps you can throw in really quick. But a lot of them are kind of signature, where you see them and you go, yeah, everyone's doing that. So when you do it yourself, you go, oh, what if I flip that? And what if I do something else? Now you're going off into new territory. You've left the path. And so that's where you want to reside, I think. Just offside the path, but enough that the audience can track the journey and feel like they're being satisfied at the end of it.
Yeah, great.
So that's my honest, laborious fucking answer to
Fantastic. Just what I wanted.
Now, Dean, I contacted you last night, for me, probably earlier today, for you to review for me, to tell me what you thought, what your honest opinion is, whether it's real, whether it's fake, what happened with my own personal UFO footage. Did you get a chance to check that out?
That's the clip that you sent, the link?
Yeah.
I got really distracted with wondering if Kylie Minogue was somehow related to you.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
I don't think that I really focused on it, to be honest. No, I watched it, and I will say this, that if it's a helicopter, like at night, all planes, helicopters, everything flying has to have that flashing light. And usually it comes with a red or green and blue. That it means certain things. And those didn't. So I've come to kind of discover little signatures and stuff of things that are like a little bit strange. Yours doesn't. It kind of, it's what I call phasing. It's where it kind of phases in and out, where it's bright and it's not, but it's not flickering, like it goes off and on. It's just like to the point where it becomes blurry. So it phases almost out of, blurriness to sharpness, blurriness to sharpness.
Yep.
But it's random. It's not like a consistent, flickering. So I look for those things and try to reverse engineer, all right, what could this be? But Cody, I believe it was you or whoever was holding the pizza in the video, Who
Oh
was
no,
like,
that was my friend Ash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ash. Okay.
Yeah.
So, hey, Ash. So he's opining that maybe it's one of those, celebrations where you do the what is it called?
The candle vigil sort of thing, what floats in the air.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
has a bag where you light a
Yeah.
thing. My girlfriend Allie and I actually saw one about, I don't know, 6 months ago. And she called me out and she goes, "You got to come on. This is incredible. Something's out there." And I look out there. And at first I thought, oh, it's an orb. And then it was like, no, you could see it flickering.
Yeah.
That it was clearly that. And it was, and we watched it and then it started to fade. And then you could see the bag, the traces of the bag. I mean, it wasn't as far away as yours, but it was just enough that, again, you could discern that.
That was that was it, because it was a very cloudy night, and they would go through the trees, and they came in almost like a line, like they'd been in a production line to come up and gone across. But that was they actually looked like they were flickering when you were in person. You could see them, but I couldn't get a good focus on them to tell what was happening.
Yeah, so it could have been that. It could have been that ceremonial thing from far away. It's hard to tell because the cameras, it's not like
A Sony Xperia Z1, yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah, exactly, man. You could be shooting
amazing?
moonlight for day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also the theory that if they want you to see more, you will. It's like, how many people have shot video footage of some, things that at a distance they are kind of credible. Even the FLIR footage from the Tic Tac stuff the Navy released. You look at that and you go, holy shit. Still, you don't see the craft up close.
No.
The closest we've ever seen is like maybe half a mile away.
Yeah. Until
we can see like that triangle craft or that Tic Tac or that saucer come over us and we see the inner workings and everything. And I'm not talking about Billy Myers bullshit stuff. Okay. I'm talking about where you look at it and, I think there's a reason why people haven't been able to capture that when everyone has one of these in their pocket. I think that, there's a theory that it's this communication, this connection between the viewer and them who, they're always in control. They know when they're being seen, everything. And because the question begs, why do they need lights? What's the point of that?
Exactly.
I mean,
like,
they can
it's
move
just
like
almost
that.
announcing where you're going to be. Like, they don't need to see anything in the sky.
Yeah, so it's almost kind of like a kabuki. It's like a show that they're putting on.
Yeah.
So like Robbie Graham, if you want to read some really good analytical take on the UFO phenomenon, his books are really good. Reframing the UFO Debate is great. You wrote one about silver saucers, about how silver screen saucers, I think it's called, how Hollywood was influenced and the UFO phenomenon was influenced by movies, so back and forth. But he talks about that as a strange thing that's a regular dynamic, not being able to get too close.
We were actually going to ask you about exactly what you talked about, Fravors Tic Tac tape, the recent sort of, what did they call them? Reveals from the Pentagon that were almost immediately retracted by news outlets that said that they possess crafts from another world. Bob Lazar sort of being semi-vindicated. What do you make of Bob Lazar and all those Pentagon sort of claims?
Leslie Kean is great. I'm a fan of hers. Because of her, she's a New York Times reporter. Because of her, we got the story from the Navy and everything else. Bob Lazar, I'm not sure, because it runs the gamut from him being co-opted by the government, and I mean they do some weird shit. As an example, you've got the Rendlesham Forest incident, where these MPs, these security people, 1980, I believe it was 1980, Christmas time. You've got these guys that are out there who are, seeing this ship land, and they go up and they touch it and everything. And then what happens is the government comes in and they say, okay, we want to put you under sodium pentothal. And we're going to see if there's anything there that we should know for security reasons, blah, blah. And by the way, we can make this go away for you. We can remove this.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, and then Nick Redfern, who is another, UFO author, he's kind of been playing with the idea and has been pushing this idea that it was all a hallucinogen and it was some toxin that they had. Well, that's bullshit, because you can't have 3 people looking at the same thing and having the same hallucination with such detail. So with Lazar, I think he was manipulated. I think he genuinely believes a lot of what he's experienced. And so I feel like the jury's still out on him. You know, I don't feel comfortable saying one way or another. So I'm going to just kind of leave that one. It's still a mystery, an enigma that hasn't been fully solved yet.
I've heard people trying to pass it. Yeah,
you know, it did get connected. It did kind of underscore what he's been saying. It did kind of help his cause, if you will.
Most definitely. I've heard a lot of people trying to say that it's a distraction from other coronavirus related stuff, but it can't be a distraction if nobody's paying attention to it. So I doubt that, you know, that's going to be a situation unless we have a big old spaceship come down with a ramp, like you say, coming out saying ET phone home, or we come in peace or something like that. That's probably not going to happen. And until then, you can't. And like I heard in a podcast, you mentioned you've always got one foot in the rabbit hole and then one foot always out. And I think that's pretty much where we stand. I want it to be real. How fucking cool! That'd be the coolest thing in the world. But realistically, you've got to have a think about it for a moment and just go, hang on a minute, we've got terrestrial issues we need to worry about as well. So as cool as that would be, we need something to actually happen to really kind of solidify that that's going to be real or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my feeling on that is that this, in 2017, the first story came out. You can't engineer these reporters who have been chipping away forever. This isn't something that just happened in a week. Mm-hmm. This is a news story that's been worked on for years. And there have been tons of other little stuff. In fact, that footage was leaked before. One of those videos, TikTok videos, was leaked before online in like around 2005, 2006.
Yeah, by Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, wasn't it? It was...
No.
That was that earlier.
Got to it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I believe so. And so then it was kind of corralled and presented in the way that it should be. And some of the new videos came out through them. So it has nothing to do with political. I mean, dude.
Yeah, it's a long-standing issue.
Well, what's long-standing and what the big problem here is the conspiracies about every fucking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we've got COVID, okay? We had it before, the Spanish flu. We've had it all through history. The way that people are reacting right now is so much different than, as an example, seatbelts and wearing a helmet. We've got a helmet law here, right? You got to wear a helmet if you're going to be on a fucking helmet or on a motorcycle. And the reason why is because the insurance rates, everyone gets, it's very costly because as soon as they get hit, splatter, and this actually increases people's chance to survive and everything else. So it's just common sense seatbelt. When seatbelt law first came out, everyone was like, well, what if I drive into a lake, and I can't get out?
Undo the seatbelt.
Like, how many times has that happened? And it's a little click. But it wasn't politicized. Yeah. Now everything is politicized. And so if this happened, during like Bush or Clinton or whatever, no one would say, oh, it's a political distraction. It's a misdirect. No. So, wear a goddamn mask. It's proven. My assistant editor got COVID. Thought he was going to die. Yeah.
Fuck.
And then James Fox, who did his film, The Phenomenon, who did Out of the Blue, the other UFO, seminal movie, Out of the Blue, and I Know I Saw It. His sister's roommate's boyfriend has got it. He's 30 years old. That sounds like a lottery movie.
It does, yeah.
But he knows this guy, and he says, dude, we would love to be in the great shape he's in, like his GQ, 30, great shape. He's paralyzed.
Fuck.
Yeah, it attacks people in different ways. And so, and a buddy of mine who's a doctor, his father died from it. So it's just like common sense. What does it hurt if we all wear a mask for 6 or 8 weeks? Let's just give it a shot. But it's been politicized to the point that if you wear it, you're now saying you're a libtard or you're this or that.
You've been cucked by the government.
Yeah. So when it comes to getting back to what you were saying, when it comes to, my beliefs and everything and wanting to believe this stuff, I look at it like, this is a terrible thing that my girlfriend's over here. She's heard me say it. But I'm talking in the vernacular of how we talk here. Is that okay, Allie? She's got a headset. She doesn't care. Okay.
Good.
I'm not, this is terrible. I'm not an easygoing. And so for me, And in this instance, she's shaking her head. She should shake her head.
I didn't hear what you said. You're a...
Oh, good. I said, I look at this like I don't want to be an easy way.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm a romantic.
Yes.
So if you're going to tell me that there's actual UFO footage,
you better.
I need you to prove to me, like if I take out UFO and I place it with her love, I need you to convince me that you really love me, that you're in it for the long haul. I'm not going to give it up on the first night. It's going to take a while before I believe in you and think, okay, I have an opportunity here to connect with, a soulmate. And so each of these truths of UFOs is like, I want that soulmate. And so I'm going to investigate it. Now, the problem is that a lot of people in the UFO community are not even in the UFO community. It's like, oh, here's another example. Here's another example. Let's pile that. Let's throw that in the bag. And, it's disheartening because it's like, well, you're not an investigator. You're not investigating the truth. You're just saying, yes, look at this. This links to this, and then we've got the deep state, or the deep flow state, whatever. And so it just goes on and on and on. And so my feeling ultimately on it is, guys, don't put everything on your plate. You're not going to be able to finish it. You're going to choke on it. So put one thing at a time. So when it's there, this is going to be cool for me to eat. I'm not going to get the runs after it. I'm not going to upchuck it. This is all good.
Yeah.
We call that a liquid Shrek around here.
Yeah.
So now, just to confirm, did Ali hear that, what you said about not being an easy lay? I just want to make sure that she heard that.
Did you hear that? No, you didn't. She's got a headset in.
You'll have to tell her later just to get those extra points, so she knows that she's truly worthy.
Yeah, she's very worthy.
That's fantastic. Well, Dean, I think we should. We probably kept you away from your daily doings enough for today, but we want to both thank you so much for being part of the
Open
show.
the bag. If there's anything that's like, Cody, I can tell there's something there that you're just not convinced. Something just.
On what?
Some smelling. Yeah, about.
On the UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I'm like you. I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
But Cody also has to hedge his bets because he just moved into the ultimate alien abduction house. It's on acreage. It's like wooden panel inside. It's very log cabin, and it's fucking
like
it's
Probeville.
It's Probeville.
You need to make a movie.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
Don't call it McPherson Tape or Alien Abduction. Call it whatever you want.
Call it the Alioto tape.
Yeah, the Alioto.
It's about this fictional family.
Yeah.
The Aliotos.
There, by the way, I wanted to mention before we go. Do you know about the Amy Ryland case?
No.
It's an Australian case. Write this down.
Just Pine Gap.
I'm surprised Broden doesn't know this one.
Amy Ryland. Yeah, I've had to, because of the documentary, kind of looking all over the world, because I'm not just focusing on the U.S. We did interviews in Paris and London, and the story that I heard, Amy Ryland, this young woman in her 20s, who had this experience and found herself within like 20 minutes, I believe it was, 500 miles away, like instantaneously.
So you've been at the shops in Australia. That's just to get to the shops.
Just to get to the shops.
Yeah.
And she was at home. They saw this light, this experience. She disappeared, and then was found 500 miles away. And the strange thing is that the food in her stomach had all digested. Her leg hair, she'd shaven, had grown out. Her hair, because it was blonde, had grown just a little bit out. So all this stuff happened within that time. If you want to find a really freaky case, and she's off the map, off the grid. She came, she was interviewed and everything, and then she's like, I'm done. And her and her boyfriend completely went off the grid.
Oh,
that's a really interesting case, because that shows that there's also some time travel aspects of this, where she disappears and then comes back.
That's
so scientific.
I love time travel.
But it was Australia, and it was the area. It was Mackay.
Mackay?
Oh, Mackay, yeah.
Yes. It was there, and then the other place that she started at, point A, was Gadar.
So I'm
Gundagai?
It might have been.
We'll find out.
Anyway.
We'll call Amy. I know Amy. Yeah, I'll call her.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Anyway.
in Western
Ames.
Australia. So yeah, that's really going to help me settle into this new house. That story.
That's right.
Can't wait to get to sleep tonight. Thank you.
Cody's actually, you can see the plastering behind there. We've been building our new set for the new podcast studio, which will hopefully be ready by the next couple of episodes, which is going to be great. But
nice.
And Dean, if you do need any fake experts for any future movies, perhaps I could be maybe a Pine Gap expert, which is our airbase, our classified airbase in Australia. I could be like, nah, mate. I'd be like, lean on something with a beer, and I'll be like, nah, shit's fucked out here, mate. I've seen fucking space aliens up in the bloody sky. I can tell you.
So Broden's like, if you're thinking of UFOs in Australia, Broden's the guy. Like, Broden's been abducted, he's been operated on, he's been probed. We've spoken about it on episode 10 of the podcast.
That episode that I sent you there, if you manage to find yourself like the minutes before your death and you just have nothing to do for an hour, fucking put that on, because that's my favorite episode. I literally had an alien abduction experience, because of your movie, you bastard.
Did you really?
I did. Well, this is what happened.
Was it because of the movie? Was it after you watched the movie? The movie
you watched? It was years after, but it's been. I've thought about that movie almost every day since I saw it when I was 10. It's killed me. It's killed me. And the funny thing is, you read Communion and then made that movie. I saw that movie, described it to somebody, and they gave me a copy of Communion.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, full on. Thanks, Jen Arnold, for that, by the way. But
it's weird, because if I'm interviewing Whitley, I literally have to tell him I'm here. We're doing this podcast all because of him. And
because of him.
Book.
That's right. Yeah. And maybe he'll sell you some insurance afterwards.
Yeah. That face, he could do it.
Dean, I know we're probably going over time, but I need to tell you my experience, because I know you get fucking people all the time giving you their experiences, but I actually quantified mine at the end of it. So I'm asleep. I hear this loud crash. The dogs start going crazy, and I can't move in my bed. And I hear things walking around the bed. And next thing you know, I felt myself lift off the bed, and the temperature changed. And I opened my eyes, and I could see these aliens above me, very gorgeous, kind of like very pale, big eyes, all this kind of stuff. And I said, are you real? And they said, well, of course we're real. I said, well, are you inside my mind? It was like that bit in Harry Potter when Dumbledore talks to Harry after Harry dies. And the alien said to me, well, is a tree real? And I'm like, why? And he goes, well, if you look at a tree, are you seeing the tree, or is light reflecting off that tree and being interpreted by your brain and giving you the illusion that tree is real? Even if you touch that, it got really deep. And I'm like, boop. So I had a great conversation with them, and then they pulled this thing out, and I'm like, that's going to go up my ass, isn't it? And they're like, yeah. So
are you sure you weren't abducted by Neil deGrasse Tyson? Because it sounds like
they had
vernacular.
They had a lot of hair on their back.
That's how he talks.
If you talk about a tree, are you really? Yeah, that sounds like Neil.
Absolutely.
So basically, I get this thing up my ass, and I can smell it, and then I go back into my house, and they fuck off, as aliens do. They just they fuck.
Yeah.
They don't even call. So I wake up.
No foreplay, no cuddle time after.
Nothing, just straight in there.
Bro.
I wake up, and oh man, people have heard this story so many times. I wake up and I can't move, and I'm like, whoa, that was awesome. The dogs are outside, and I'm like, and then I figure out, because I used to be a lucid dreamer. I used to never sleep because I would lucid dream and have the best time. And I have a pretty active imagination, and thanks to things like Communion and that Walken movie and Fire in the Sky, Communion with Christopher Walken, and then Fire in the Sky, and all these other horrible, damaging films, yours included. And so I've had this amazing, vivid dream, which was realistic. And also, here's the thing that happens when you're dehydrated. You ever try to separate your tongue from the top of your mouth, and it kind of goes, peels?
Is that what it was like?
So what happened when you have a fart bubble coming, it goes like this. And then, like that. So that's what it felt like. Something whoop, in there, out there. And I say to Cody in this particular one,
oh, God.
You can tell when you walk into a room that something has been up an ass. You can tell. There's a particular smell in the air.
Is there a certain walk with it too?
That's right.
It comes with it.
There's a lot of evidence.
Do you remember when just before Elvis died, how he walked that way?
Yeah. Got the lotto.
Systematic probing.
Well, he's one of them. I think we all know that. I think we're safe with that. It's not a conspiracy. That's a fact. It's
But-
science. It's just science.
I did say something else in the episode which I keep challenging myself on, was that there a lot of stories that you'll find with abductees, they tend to have some kind of past trauma, in the sense that it could be, you know, childhood abuse or sexual abuse or domestic violence or something like that. And in those times where you feel so unspecial, what would make you more special than intergalactic aliens coming from billions of miles away to come to your house in, you know, Caneen Street to pick just you up and take you away? How special would that make you? However, it's people have experiences, and you can't quantify every single one of them with you're a loon or yes, it happened. So it's an interesting one there. But based on my own personal experience, I just thought, what a great dream. What a great ride. Very cool.
Well, Cody and I are going to charge you now for this therapy. There's no free rides here.
Dude, I
Here's the
try and
thing.
get it off your chest every week.
Yeah, I have to just
He
once.
said he ends every podcast with the same story.
So I was laying in bed,
Is
right?
that right?
And they stuck it on my ass. Yeah.
That's good.
I will say this, that because unfortunately so many people are from childhood are sexual abused. I think it's like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4
It's
for
too
boys
high.
and girls. It's like, it's easily going to be, oh, well, it's just that. But if that's, so that would mean that all these people have decided that instead of it being this other figure, it's now an alien, a great alien. But I've gone to a couple alien abduction support groups. Because first one I thought, well, this will be entertaining. This will be interesting. And I get in there and I'm totally freaked out. I get home, Allie's like, she's like, how was it? And I said, it's pretty fucking freaky. Because I've got a good bullshit meter, because for 20 years I worked in crime shows and I talked to convicts and stuff, and I can see people, my bullshit meter's been somewhat honed.
Yeah.
Nothing, not a blip. I mean, these were lawyers, doctors, one guy who was a supervisor for Homeland Security, all of them telling these very credible stories. So at this point, I believe that some people, I don't know what the percentage is, are actually having an experience, whether it's mental or physical. That in itself is worth study. That in itself is enough to go down the road for a little bit. So it's when you have physical evidence, when people have scars, or their spouse, our family, are witnesses to this.
Yeah.
That's, I will leave you with this. There was this guy who I interviewed recently, and he said to me, 5% of the population believes, this is a belief among the UFO community, believes that they've been abducted, 5%. And he said, I think 5% are the only people that are able to remember this.
Yeah.
And I think 95% don't.
That's a lot of people.
And I'm like, great, thanks, asshole. I'm really going to sleep well tonight.
Yeah.
But I heard
It's
somewhere
not
that
happening
like
for me.
40 million people a year get, you might have even said this on a podcast I was creeping on you last night, about like 40 million people a year getting abducted. Like,
Yeah, well, there is a belief that, I did the math based on talking to the woman, Yvonne Smith, who she's great. She runs the support group. And based on her statistics, I just took that and extrapolated, my poor math, what it would be. And that's just people that raise their hands and say, excuse me,
it was me.
I had this happen. So we know that it's, greater than that. And there's a reason why John Mack, who was the head of the Harvard psychology department, got into this. It wasn't because he always loved aliens. It was, I'm going to crack this code on this psychosis once and for all. And then all of a sudden he discovers this stuff. And same with David Jacobs. I think it was at Cornell or another huge, highly credited person. And they've just found enough merit here that these people are experiencing something. So, but it's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster, right? I don't ever want them to drain Loch Ness and see that, oh shit, there it is. Even if it exists, it's like, all right, well, that's done. Let's wait for him to kick and then we'll stuff him and put him in the Smithsonian, right?
Yeah.
It's done, man. There's got to be mystery forever.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Even though it's literally just a guy's arm, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Guy sitting there.
Sock puppet.
Yeah.
The ultimate, the sock puppet that fooled them all.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fantastic.
Oh man. Well, Dean, look, we would love to have you on another time if you'd be happy to come back and have a chat, because I want to chat about some of your other films that are coming out that have come out. Portal. I saw the trailer for Portal, and I'm very, very looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
I think I saw a little bit of, I don't know if it was kind of like self-reflection humor about the start of it, where the guys are making a fake ghost video for their ghost TV show. Loved it. And then real shit starts happening. I really can't wait to see Portal. And then I reckon I'll watch it, and then we'll want to have a chat again. I reckon that'll be really great.
Coolio. No, dude, this was really fun. Thank you for reaching out.
Oh, and thanks for writing back. It
yeah.
took you 6 months, but you got back to us. So
We appreciate
I
it, man.
text very slow.
Thanks so much,
Awesome.
man, and we really appreciate that too. It's really good to see that people care about their fans, and care about their viewership, and we'll reach back out to say hi.
Absolutely. No. It's kind of like, I feel like Forrest Gump in all of this. I'm just going along and going, really? Serious? That's great. So I'm very, very grateful. And I know as a viewer, as an audience, that if someone moves me, and then if I can, in some way kind of find out the story behind that or connect, I know how much that inspires me. So thank you. I'm honored by the fact that you guys enjoyed it.
No, it's great.
So
Thank you so much.
Much
Dean
appreciated.
Alioto, been great, mate. We'll talk to you very soon. Thanks for tuning into this episode, guys. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Ciao.